We will be transitioning over shortly to Suzanne from Padilla Bay NERR. So you can go ahead and screen share.
Thank you. Yeah, that was unfortunate not to hear the tail end of that, Chris, but this is a good segue. I am a GIS specialist at the Padilla Bay Reserve, and I've had the privilege of working on several national water, wetland, and water level projects, including this Namaste. And for Namaste, we've compiled a geospatial database here, this dashboard that allows researchers to see the metadata about the data. So on the left are all of the sites where marsh monitoring is being done within the reserve system. And the the data at the bottom tells you information about what the marsh type is, the cover sampling type, so percent cover, ocular cover, for example, the sampling done for height, average canopy or canopy max by species, etc. And then the tidal regime for each of those sites. So you can, for example, zoom to any one of the reserve sites. Let's go to Chesapeake, and you'll see that the tables down below will change depending on what the type of data is being collected there. There's the tidal regime. I'll try not to make you seasick, and I'm having a little trouble seeing my controls because of the zoom controls. Hold on just a second, and I'll zoom back out to our initial view. Are you seeing the initial view? Yeah. Okay, and then salinity type, and then the years sampled. So different reserves started sampling on different start years and don't always sample consecutively. So that provides an overview just for the Namaste. In addition to that, we've done kind of a mashup with some of the other national products. So you'll hear Kim talk about the setter, which is the sediment elevation table analysis. And I think later on, Jonathan will talk about Grand Bay specifically. And I'm going to use Grand Bay as an example for this data, where we've also included our marsh resilience to sea level rise at a national scale, headed up by Rachel Stevens. And then finally, High Tider, which was Kirstein's baby, where we just completed doing an analysis of the estuary footprint based on like elevation. What is your extreme high tide, like a king tide line, combined with historical maps. So you can get to all of that data using the legend. Bear with me because my controls are hiding behind the Zoom stuff. Hold on just a second. All right. I'm trying to get into the layers. You guys can probably see it better than I can. Let me see if I can get this to move. There we go. Here are the legends. So again, the first of these layers are from the Namaste project, but then you can add to it as we zoom in to Grand Bay. And you can see the actual plot locations for their marsh monitoring. The yellow is the reserve boundaries. But we can add to it the clue data. So clue are our water quality sampling locations for our system-wide monitoring program, SWAMP, that have been attributed with CMEX classification, coastal marine ecological classification, for the watershed of the type of land and land use and bioregion information that is flowing into that water quality sensor. So that gives you this context of where our marsh monitoring sites are relative to the water quality instruments. And then the marsh resilience to sea level rise. So this is a landscape scale done for the entire country, giving us a picture of the resilience of that marsh You can see blue is high, red is low. So for the series of plots at Grand Bay, they transition between these two. And then high tider. So again, this is the elevation-based estuary extent that Charlie Endres did the heavy lifting on to establish where these areas are. You can see in their upper area, this appears to be outside of that upper extent. And again, that water quality station, let's turn that back on. It's sitting up here inside of this channel. Now, if we go in and look at some historical maps that were made in the 1800s, we can turn on that layer and see, oh, well, even historically, that upper area, which if we go to our salinity plot, shows us that it is freshwater oligohaling up here is forested area, and it transitions down into these tidal marsh areas. And then there's even more historical marsh that's been completely lost down on that lower area. So, I mean, I'm not doing analysis with this per se. It's really a mashup visualization to allow researchers to get in and dig around and just quickly see where they are relative to some of the other national products that have been produced. And that's pretty much it for me.
Such an impressive array of geospatial resources.
The NERR's rocks in their geospatial capabilities. It's cool to see it all coming together.
There's a question in the chat. Where does the link to access to this live?
Well, it's live and ready to go. It's still being worked on because Namaste is not concluded yet, but we can share it. Let me I could just grab the link.
And while she's doing that, if anyone else has questions, we do have time for a question. You can either unmute yourself or type it in the chat.
Okay, I put it in the chat.
Perfect, thank you. Anyone else have a question they want to ask?
Right, thank you.
If not, we'll move forward and have a slightly less hectic schedule ahead of us.